Barefoot Gen is the story of a boy living with his family in Hiroshima during the Second World War. The story begins with Gen and his family of two parents, his older sister and his younger brother, trying to survive in wartime with very little food to go around the town, and especially difficult for Gen's mother who is pregnant. However, the two youngest sons, Gen and his younger brother Shinji, always keep a positive attitude. They are stereotypical two younger brothers. They play, they fight, and they cause trouble. The film shows the struggles of war, not on the larger scale, but the struggle for the individuals, for each and every person. Gen and his brother try to help out by doing stuff like catching fish and sacrificing their own food for their mother's well-being. For them, it must be hard to understand the full scale of what's going on. It's heartwarming really, you truly connect with the family and what they are going through, even though we've never been in a situation like that. Animation has this beautiful way of making everything seem so homely and cozy. Beautiful scenery, calm and quiet movements, and light orchestral beats. The first half of this film does have very similar tone to Ghibli and Disney films, and even though it's set in wartime, there's this positive feeling that everything's going to be alright in the end and that the war might finally be over. That was until the clock turned to 8:15 on August the 6th. However, the story doesn't end there, and that's where the film shows its true colours. A flash of white, the blood red as skin melts off pink faces, before finally settling to black. Black rain. The following decade after the bomb, the information was heavily censored from authorities both in Japan and in the West, and it was the work of the survivors to show the scale of what the disaster was really like, which they did through artistic means like poems or paintings, such as Iri and Toshi's The Hiroshima Panels. The term A-bomb literature came about to describe all these artistic works, before being attributed solely to the literary genre, which leads us to 2 decades after Hiroshima, when Ubuse Matsuji's novel, Black Rain, was published. Being regarded as the peak of expressing and representing the nuclear experience, it was praised on release rather than being shunned like prior works. It set the way for A-bomb literature and cinema to move away from simply anti-war to more protagonist-focused stories, and actually showed the individuals who suffered from the effects of war, and inspired Keiji Nakazawa to write about his experience for the first time in the 1968 book Struck by Black Rain. The original author of Barefoot Gen, Keiji Nakazawa, is someone who even in the hardest of situations managed to keep a positive attitude, because Barefoot Gen is not only his fiction, but his life, based on real events in which Nakazawa managed to survive the bombings of Hiroshima, and what happened to Gen's family and the struggles he went through is all what happened to Nakazawa. In the 60s, he moved to the big city of Tokyo to pursue his dream of becoming a manga artist, which he'd aspired to be since childhood. By the 70s, he began to tell his story in order to educate future generations about atomic warfare and the horrors of Hiroshima, and he believed his manga could do this. Which is what makes Nakazawa and Gen's story so beautiful in a way. The story just bleeds out passion from the start to the end, and how Nakazawa managed to draw the manga as well as the screenplay for this film. When you see Gen, a 6-year-old boy, sat there crying outside his destroyed home, such a personal moment for Nakazawa that he has shared with the rest of the world is something that propels Gen's story into something that can only be viewed as a piece of beautiful artwork. And that's why Barefoot Gen and other atomic bomb works are so important. Not only do they show a true and uncensored take on what really happened once the bomb was dropped, but they can and should be used to educate future generations. In 1973, Black Rain was included in Japanese textbooks for the first time. The same year, the Barefoot Gen manga began publication. However, decades later, issues around the censorship of Hiroshima still goes on. In 2013, the city of Matsue banned Barefoot Gen from appearing in school libraries, before several protests came about, and then the book was allowed back into schools. An undelivered letter was found wrote by Nakazawa to Obama, the 44th President of America, in which he asked the president to read Gen's story together with his wife and his 2 children, who were 11 and 8 at the time. And even though Gen's story is graphic and disturbing, so were the real events. Atomic bomb literature, be it poetry, documentaries, or even anime, has a key role in our society to educate future generations about what we've done and what we should do in the future. Barefoot Gen might just be a work of fiction, but its message and story is something that should be taken note of. As a film, it has a mediocre soundtrack with just its melancholic ending song standing out. Its art style has this beautiful contrast between soft round characters that could be taken straight out of a Ghibli film, and horrifying ghost-like victims, an archetype that Black Rain solidified in the genre. Yet the major characters in this film lack any sort of depth beyond what is seen at face level, especially Gen, who doesn't seem to be fazed by the events at all. However, what this film lacks in some aspects, it makes up for with beautiful imagery and a core important message. Gen and Nakazawa's story is one to educate and to inspire, to show the contrast of the bomb, human's most horrific creation, with the story of the survivors, one of human triumph. It's no surprise that this story inspired countless volunteers to translate the 10-part manga series across the globe, and which was not only adapted into this animated film and its sequel, but also 5 novels, 3 live-action films, a television drama, an opera, and even a musical. When in the most difficult of situations, Gen manages to overcome one hardship after another, with courage, determination, and a smile, a story to inspire.